Welcome back. So on this part of the review, I want to start off by going over the iiRcade.com website to kind of show you everything that it was promoting and advertising. And they did a pretty darn good job, honestly. They're showcasing something that has so many different things coming with it. And obviously these are all the specs that's going over. 19-inch high definition display. Again, super loud speakers. I'm talking insanely loud. HDMI out. Then two forms of storage, 64 gig and 128. Skip what the media is saying, but yeah, so everything it promised physically, the build honestly is super high quality. Now, there's no point in buying something if there's no good software to come with it and all the games, and the iiRcade itself promoted a crap ton of games. You can see the list here on their website as well, but it showcased so many different games, and it always promoted that it will only come built in with 10 to 11 games, which were already pre-installed, and then they have a few free games that you can go on the store by using an app through Android, or if you're on iPhone, just use their web browser. And that process was seamless after a couple updates, and every time you install a game, you just have to reset the system itself by holding the power button, turn it off, and then back on, and then the games would automatically show up in your queue according to their category. But you're seeing a ton of good games here from the past. Now, we're missing out on some huge titles from Capcom like the Street Fighter series, Mortal Kombat, and these are games that have already shown up on other devices with custom devices themselves. One of the big games I'm excited for is the Retromania, which is a wrestling game based on the WrestleFest, one of my favorite early arcade games, which is basically a button mashing wrestling game. And as you can see here, these are the prices of some of these games, like Riptide GP, $13. You can get that on your App Store for $5, I believe, on your iPhone or Android, unless prices have gone up. But you're seeing a lot of games you haven't heard of. That these are simple arcade games. Bomb Squad looks like a newer gen. Now, some of these are phone games that had come out, and so they're adding a lot of different kind of genres, and I think these are the titles that Zhang, the guy in charge of this, is licensing or having conversations with these other companies to put them on the store, then give them a fee or a cut. But some of these prices are just, I don't want to say outrageous. You're buying a console with its own ecosystem, but I would love to see a way to add other games either on your own or something that people come up with. But for now, the Kickstarter always promised fully licensed games, which is cool. It just depends on what he can get. But as you can see, going through the process, if I've been downloading a lot of free games, I don't want to start investing in any of these arcade games that I can play in other ways already, unless it's something I'm super excited about. Now, on the plus side, a lot of the arcade one-ups, they only come with 3 to 5 games on them each, right? You're buying a system that already has a plethora of more games than the other ones. Now, are these games that you want out of the box? Most likely not, but it does come with some great ones like Dragon's Lair, which is an all-time classic, Double Dragon, great beat 'em up, a couple Neo Geo fighting games. But we're hoping they promoted over 200 games would be available. Not sure if they said it at launch, but they said sooner or later, and we're hoping that comes to fruition. Obviously, people are just now starting to get these from the Kickstarter, and hopefully, as these progress, the time progresses, that they look into adding a lot more games before these actually hit the market with their full pre-orders, and I'll go over all those prices later in this review. But for now, as a build quality, the hardware-wise, it's an incredible device. They did a great job putting this together. The build was easy, but now the software is what it comes down to. Just to show you a rundown. So if you did not back the Kickstarter, you have to do a pre-order system now. Not sure when these are going to release, but as you can tell, I paid $450 for mine for just the bar top itself. Looking at these prices, they're a bit much. 6 months from now, if they had a huge lineup of games and they keep going on like the Ouya did, which I'm very fearful of, I think these will be great consoles. You can find other things like the At Legends Ultimate with, over 150 games plus an online subscription service for about $550 as a full-on standing arcade machine with your own bring your own game add-ins. So comparatively, I think this is the better quality in terms of build, but for these prices, I personally, I hate to ever say anything negatively, but they're a little bit out there. The arcade bar top right there for $600, I got that same thing with a Sanwa stick and a 128 gig built-in hard drive or flash drive, as these mobile systems would use, for $450. So you're looking at about a $200 increase over that to get everything now, which is fair if you didn't back it up in the beginning. But looking at these like $800 prices, Again, if they come with more games, I think they'll be worth the price, but for now, I would hold off. Otherwise, if you did get it, if anybody finds a way to add more to it themselves, it is Android, so you might be able to load games onto that directly with the system. But for what it is, it has a lot of potential. I really think they did a great job in marketing it, obviously with Kickstarters and getting everyone to back in. But now you got to follow through and add in more content. Welcome back. I wanted to show you and boot this up. In the last video, you saw me put it together. And once I put it all together, super impressed with everything, honestly, in terms of build quality. I'll be honest with you. My biggest complaints, the screen itself is already looking scratched up, but this is a protector over the screen itself. So, and this can kind of slide out. Now that this is connected, it's harder to get out, but if you wanted to, yeah, you can. So it's pretty much in there. It does slide up and down, but you don't have to screw anything. So it is cool. That is a nice protection, but I'm already noticing the fingerprints right away. Collecting lots of fingerprints up here, but let's boot it on and show you the boot up sequence. Literally just power button once you're plugged in. Or you hold the power button once you're plugged in. And there you go. I won't edit that out. It's booting up, and then obviously it's basically booting an Android system optimized for this console itself. So iiRcade, as you can see, no sounds right now, but one thing I was noticing, I was trying things out. My God, these speakers are deathly loud, a little too loud, but cool thing about this, I do like the menu. I was going to HDMI and do a direct input. Oh, look, we have an update right here. So, and from what I've seen so far, the system itself has super potential. It really does. I just hope to God that they add a lot more licensed games and properly good games. I'd love for them to reach out to Capcom, add the Street Fighter series, but they already have, Street Fighter dedicated cabinets from Arcade 1-Up, so I don't know how hard from behind the scenes it would be to get all this. But oh, look, another update, 1.9 gigs, so that should be a big one, so we'll see what that does. But upon booting up, and it's actually downloading in the background, you can see on the bottom, which is actually pretty cool. It's an optimized system. So out of all these emulated systems, I think this is the best in terms of software. They've gone out of the way to make sure that every single game has a dedicated, is dedicated for this console, specifically for the iiRcade. So that is actually super cool. Now, the big games on here will be Double Dragon and then Dragon's Lair. Now, what's cool is you can obviously have it sitting in the background as a demo mode. So that is cool. But for now, I actually started installing a couple games from the app itself. If you have Android, you can download an Android app. If you have iPhone, you have to go through the web browser. But I will show you now that I went through on their store. Doesn't have the 200 licensed games at launch that they were promising. I would say about 50 games or so. Hopefully they're going to come out with more of them. I'm actually seeing a date up there, which is cool on the main system. It's actually off by a day, but I will fix that later. But it's cool that, it has everything coming in here. It's very easy to sync up. As soon as I bought a couple of the free games, I actually don't want to start investing money. I'll tell you why yet. But a couple of free games, I booted this up and they were already in there, such as Fancy World and Diver Boy. Games I've never freaking heard of. Of course, they're free. But if you go through the store, some of these are a little overpriced. There's Space Harrier, the original Sega game, for $12.99. You can spend $120 and get, or any of the Sega collections and get Space Harrier included for free. So looking at some of these prices, obviously they want to build out a store, get the licensing agreements, and then do a split, kind of like the App Store. But right now, some of these games are coming in at prices where I can go buy a used console game for $20, $15. So, but the ranges so far have been for like $3 to $15, I believe, is the most I've seen. So nothing outrageous yet. But in terms of fighting games, like, you can't actually change all these menu items, but it sucks. Dragon Master is the only fighting game built for Sanwa sticks that I got the upgrade for. So there were a couple other games. Now I am excited for Retromania. It is a spiritual successor to the original WrestleFest, which is going to have a lot of indie wrestlers involved and former WWE wrestlers and other licensed wrestlers in it, which is supposed to come out in February to this system. Not sure how much that's going to be, but hoping for the best, hoping it'll play like a true arcade game and have fun with friends. But in terms of opening up the software once you get in, it's super cool, super easy to navigate. Going through settings has a couple cool things right here. You got Bluetooth, your brightness, your date. It will change in a moment. Information. So if we click information with A, device ID, the email, you just use your email as your user ID. Logging in, which I already did. Storage is pretty cool. And I'll dive in a little bit deeper. But with storage, you have all the games listed here. Now I got the 128 gig one. Update failed. Reboot. Okay. Reboot to update firmware again. I've been having Wi-Fi issues, so I don't think it's the system or anything, but now it's asking me to reboot. So why don't we reboot? Shutting down, just hold the power. Let that shut down. Let that marinate for a few seconds. Power back on. Super cool. I would love a physical switch. Those are always cool with the arcade machines and such, but let's try that again. Look for the little screen. Come on, power. Boy, is that taking a few seconds to... there we go. So we're back. Tifa out. Reboot. Hopefully it gets that update again. It's probably because of my Wi-Fi with a 1.9 gig, but... quick overview before I start diving deeper into the system and the buttons and everything. I like it from a build perspective. I hope, again, they increase all the games that are coming out for this thing as soon as possible. I actually have full Wi-Fi bars, but firmware update, try this again. And now it's obviously restarting that download, so we'll see what happens there and if that comes out. But yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes back, and I'll show you some of the games as I play through them. Well, as installing a system update, why don't I do a little breakdown of all the buttons. Just tested this, a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, because again, the speakers are incredibly loud. You will witness that in a moment. Menu pause button, instant pausing. Again, all these games are optimized, so every button here is going to work perfectly with everything. Volume up and down. I love when there's physical switches right here. Then you've got a player 1 start, coin, which will work for both games, player 2 start, and then power button. Now, for anybody who mashes, I'm kind of afraid they're going to hit the power button, but luckily you got to hold it in to power it off and power it down, so that's a good thing. And then these are actual Sanwa sticks. Feel just as clicky, feel just as great. These are Sanwa-like buttons. These feel fine. Again, you're not going to be hosting tournaments or anything on these professionally, but the buttons and the sticks themselves, they feel great. I do love the 2 different colors. Player 1 is red, player 2 is all black. So in terms of buttons and everything, the stick itself is exactly what I paid for and what I expected. So they did an awesome job compared to the arcade 1-ups, the At Legends with the concave buttons and the convex, the different buttons. These are the best of the best in my personal opinion. So, and then now we're back up. The date's off, but we did a firmware update that was 1.9 gigs. Now look at this. This is volume all the way down, right? Not so loud. This is volume all the way up at the menu. That's not even all the way up. Even my dog's getting scared. You can see how loud these things are. Oh my God, let's get that all the way back down. Jesus. So literally, most people will probably be playing this at like the 3rd notch on the volume. Anything else is just way too loud. So looks like I don't have that in, but let's boot up a quick game for you. Obviously, let's do the classic right here with Double Dragon. And now what's very cool is each game, again, optimized. So they have all the buttons laid out for you. Everything's here. Doesn't look like it doesn't give you any feedback if you're pressing them compared to the software. But you can't really change anything. Then it tells you who made the game. Arc system works. E for everyone, 2 players. And then, again, A-OK. And everything is labeled, so what you got to do. Now, these are weird to remember. ABC up top, XYZ. You don't usually see that, but it works for this system right here, the way they've had it set up. And then I actually also have the HDMI out, and it's basically mimicking the image for you. So again, you want to set this up, have a big party, have people see what you're doing. I think that's awesome. However, it's not widescreen. Everything's in 4x3. So just like your old school arcades, but just as you'd expect. Let's hit the pause button. Pause right there, brings you to that. Hit it again. Very quick. Now, let's see what happens if I just hit the power button. Okay, yep. So if you have anybody who's going to mash, power button being right there could be a big no-no. Let me hit it again. Actually, okay, not going to be the end of the world. It's a sleep button. So it's literally instantly turning it off, turning it back on. So almost like its own quick resume that Xbox Series X promised and hasn't been doing too hot. So, but that's pretty cool. And then volume again. Definitely a lot of distortion. That's just insane how loud it is. So again, seeing a bit of lag after I died, that's not a good sign. Get that full Nelson off me. Go back to menu. Add a pause. So if you just hold the menu, it brings you back to the main menu. That's not bad. So overall, the OS isn't bad. It's running through everything. Again, huge lack of games out of the gate. All these individual games costing between $5 to $15 is going to be a bit much for most people. I don't want to start investing in buying any games or anything. There's really nothing I can't already get online. So that's one thing I'm worried about for the longevity of this console. But it just came out. People are just starting to get it. So I'm seeing a lot of the complaints and people's concerns coming out. But in terms of what they promised, a better build quality than any of the other systems, and they nailed it, honestly. This is a solid build. I'm glad I didn't get the stand itself. This I'll actually try to compare with an iiRcade 1-Up, but in terms of size, it is a little bit wider. It is heavier, much, much heavier. The other systems is just, they don't have these loud-ass speakers. But in terms of build quality, they did a great job. Kudos to them. In terms of software, they're doing their best with the optimization to bring each game individually. I think they did a good job on that. It's just these games, some of these games you've never heard of. These are really old school games. And then Dragon Master, I believe that was a Neo Geo game back in the day. I hope to see more licensings on this thing. But I hope you enjoyed this. This was a quick overview of the system. I think you should wait. The pricing, again, overall, I paid $450 for the Sanwa upgrade and extra 64 gigs of memory, which was, adding $150 just to get a Sanwa stick. So was it worth the $450 in total? I think so, if they can get more games. Again, some of these games now, they're optimizing everything. This is cool. This has its own artwork and stuff. Let's click it. Shoot and bomb. That's all you need. Again, still super cool. See, look at that. It loaded Double Dragon instead of the game that I wanted. So let's back up. That's a problem right there. Boy, am I going to have fun editing this video. We're back after a reboot, so it actually probably needs a reboot every time you install a couple games, so that's fair right there. But now, obviously, let's do recent. Let's pick Gunbird this time, see if it actually plays Gunbird. If it's Double Dragon again, I'm going to be so upset. There we go. Okay, so back to normal. Just need to finish all the updates, so player one start. These are all the original arcade games modified, so very cool. Again, lots of potential here. They just need to add more games, and then I can highly recommend it compared to all the other arcade cabs out there because as much as I love these dedicated arcade cabs, if you don't have a big place, you want to have as many games built into one system. And with all the other ones, they're great for somebody with an entire game room to dedicate these cabinets. But once you have these 3 games to play over and over again, even though they're extremely high quality games, you kind of want variety. And that's why also there's a medium here with having a store that doesn't have a million, a console or game cabinet doesn't have a million games you're never going to play. You can pick and choose, which will make you kind of, make better decisions on what you're going to play. You're going to actually look forward to playing a game because it's a dedicated game with the console and everything. So, and again, HDMI out as a nice little touch. These speakers are insane. My God, 50-watt speakers each to do that. And then fingerprinting is the biggest complaint I have here. But otherwise, if you want to get this at the price they have now, I would wait a few months to see how everyone else's release goes once they start receiving them. But me personally, I'm happy with the potential there, but obviously don't want to buy things on potential. But that's what you get when you buy from Kickstarter, right? I bought the Ouya on Kickstarter. Huge disappointment. This is not a complete disappointment. The idea is there. I know this guy put a lot of heart and soul into this arcade cab, and I really hope he follows through and gets more, licensed games on there, more companies to dive in, because this could kind of open up the floodgates for proper arcade cabs with more games built in. So for that, hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other questions about this cabinet itself, please ask in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to CEO Gaming. I'm going to have a few statue updates and unboxings coming to you soon. Otherwise, please have a wonderful 2021. Hopefully it doesn't get much worse. It might in the start, but I think we'll, as a country, will pull out later in this year. So be safe and Happy New Year's.